Just last week, I filmed a video on this, my 2004 Lexus LS 430. And it was about how good this car was and how people would prefer this over something newer. And it really does have me thinking, are modern cars doomed from the start? And if you hop on the interwebs, it really doesn't take long for you to come across this topic. There's a genuine discussion about, are modern cars objectively getting worse? And I don't think I can definitively say yes or no, but I've definitely been thinking about it this week. And as I've been thinking about this topic this week, I've come across 4 reasons that make me think it's true. The first point, I think, is cost. It's more expensive to buy a new car, it's more expensive to buy a used car, it's more expensive to maintain either one of them. And even entry-level new cars are around $20,000. The cheapest US car right now is a Nissan Versa with a manual, and the MSRP is over $18,000 for that. Even looking at a more simple economy type car, nothing exciting, nothing sportsy, is gonna run you in the $40,000 mark. Think your CR-V, think your Toyota RAV4. And even the cheapest sports car, which I think is still the Mazda Miata, is $30,000, $35,000. You'll know, you saw the prices. The cost of parts has also been exacerbated by just advancement. I mean, as we build better and newer and nicer things, the cost to manufacture those are more expensive, so the cost to purchase them if they break are also more expensive. And with more complex parts, labor times and diag times increase as well, which means if you take it to your mechanic or to the dealer, it's gonna be more expensive. And I'm not gonna beat a dead horse on simplicity. I've already talked about that in another video. And I've told you recently why I love this car for a lot of the same reasons. And that brings me to point number 2. And this is something I haven't necessarily mentioned on this channel directly yet, but this car makes me think of it. Quality. Car quality is, I think, objectively worse now. I don't really know the answer as to why, but I think there's plenty of evidence that says so. And this is not only a point for economy cars. Go hop on any Audi forum, and I've had an Audi, so I'm on these. Audi forum, Audi Reddit, and just listen to how angry people are about how low quality, how low cost, and how cheap their new vehicles feel, and how they're saying they may keep their old one or they wish they had their old one back. There's also been an incredible amount of recalls, even from trusted, reliable brands. Toyota has recalled over 1 million vehicles. I think 500,000 of those are related just to an engine failure in their new 3.4 twin turbo. And I know they went away with it for efficiency and fuel costs, but they just got rid of the 5.7 V8, which is arguably one of the most reliable engines ever produced. They also killed their 3.5 V6 in the Camry and went to a more modern 4-cylinder with a hybrid. And again, complexity just allows the opportunity for quality to decrease. Reason number 3 for this is control. And this one is genuinely an interesting conversation for us to have. There is more and more evidence and more things where the manufacturer is taking away control from the owner. They're adding subscriptions for features. They're adding subscriptions for power and performance. They're changing bolts, looking at you, BMW, where only the dealer or manufacturer can service the car. They're locking things behind proprietary software so that your local mechanic, who you may have worked with for years and you trust, either has to pay a large amount of money to buy that software to fix your car, or they just have to send you directly to the dealer. The ability of an owner to own their vehicle first off and not have their features locked behind a never-ending subscription, to also be able to service their vehicle where they want to and with who they want to. Competition is not always the best thing, but it's also not always a bad thing. And it allows us to have a better dialogue about how much something should cost, how easy it should be, and about where we think the best quality work is gonna happen. If the only option is to take the vehicle back to the manufacturer, they can charge or do or say whatever they want. And personally, I don't think that's a good feeling or experience. And I'm gonna go back to the subscription thing. Why are we gonna subscribe for cruise control? Why are we gonna subscribe for heated seats and things like that? It just doesn't make sense to me. If I own my car, I don't wanna continue to pay you for my car. And finally, the last point, and I'm gonna throw a buzzword at you: designed obsolescence. And if you haven't heard that word, I'm gonna define it for you where a Mississippi country boy can understand it. Parts will fail. They will fail intentionally, and they will fail when the builder wants them to. And listen, I'm not gonna be full tinfoil hat here and say this is exactly what's happening with all vehicles. That's what's wrong with new vehicles. But I am starting to be fearful of it happening. We've talked plenty about complexity and how that affects reliability. I'm not gonna go to that point again. But what happens when your iPad essentially stops getting updates? Your device is no longer supported. I don't know, and I'm gonna give you an example. Have you ever played or messed with a 10-year-old iPad? Or even a 10-year-old laptop, to make that point? Not only do they feel old and outdated, they are slow and they do not work properly. They just seem to lose function and forget how to do what they're supposed to do. So what happens when your car is now essentially an iPad? Pretty much every car has a major screen that is a focal point and a driver of your features and functions. What happens if the manufacturer stops updating that? Can they do that? I don't know yet, but it's definitely a conversation that I think we need to have. And I already see this a bit with Tesla, and I like Teslas. I like a Model S. My thumbnail's a Model S for a reason. But if you've been in one of the original models from 2013, 2014, that center display doesn't work very well. It's very laggy, it loses function, it takes a while to load, and it has stopped receiving some of the updates. You can't get Autopilot 4, you can't get some of the new features. Even though they can update a lot of it over the air, you can't get all of it. Moving past the iPad point, there's hardware that is starting to stop being manufactured for even new cars. I assist with automotive service every day for my job, and there's been a number of vehicles over the last year that we can't get parts for. We had a 3-year-old Jeep that you can't get a center screen because it's no longer manufactured. That's still under manufacturer warranty. We had a 4-year-old GLS Mercedes that we couldn't fix the heat in the vehicle in the wintertime because the contractor who makes the part for Mercedes no longer makes the part, and nobody else does either. We even tried to order it from Germany and it doesn't exist. And there's been a number of vehicles that we try to get parts for, and those parts are now on an indefinite intergalactic back order, like we joke around at work. You just can't get the part. It basically doesn't exist. You can order it, pay for it, but you don't know when you're going to receive it. And that last point is a bit of a problem for older cars as well, but in general, they have a much better aftermarket support for so many models. And a lot of times those aftermarket parts have been continued to be improved on. They may be a bit better than the OEM from original. And when it's a mechanical piece, it doesn't really decay with time like an electrical piece does. And that brings us back around to that thumbnail car, that Tesla Model S. And I do like those. They're a blast to drive. They're pretty comfortable and they've got a ton of features. They're one of the best electric cars that you can get currently. But I have a hard time believing that somebody's gonna wanna own one 50 years from now. As always, let me know in the comments if you agree. I'd love to have a dialogue with you guys. Thanks for watching.